For your backyard garden, let's show you how we plant into seed trays. It is a very simple process, doesn't have to be complicated at all. We use wind strip trays from Never Sink Farm. I'll put the link in the description. They are not a sponsor. We just like them because they are very robust, thick plastic, and they last for a long time. That's one of the main reasons. I'll show you one other reason why we use them. And I'll show you the compost that we use. We're going to plant some radishes this morning. Radishes are some of the fastest germinating vegetables that you have in your garden. They're within 2-3 days. Early spring may take a little bit longer, but once we start getting to warmer weather, they germinate extremely quick. I always say for your children, if you want to show them how germination happens, it's a great seed to use because it happens so fast. So let's take a quick look how we do it here at Whirlwind Family Farm, and let's show you the compost, the seed trays, and the planting itself. So the first thing I do with our organic compost is I have this, it's like a horse trough, and you do not need anything this big, but with our organic certified compost, I do give it a good amount of moisture, wet it down. I don't want it to be like mud, but I want it to be wet enough where it's going to stick inside those seed trays really well. And I'll show you why here in a second with those wind strip trays. So I just go in, mix it up, make sure we've got a good moisture mix in there, and then we'll go ahead and load those seed trays and show you why I like to keep this down. All right, so let's go ahead and show you how we load up a wind strip tray. It's a very simple process. And let me just show you quickly here on the wind strip trays. Again, these are a nice thick plastic, as you can see. This is a 50 cell seed tray. They come in different sizes. They come up to like 124. This is kind of the medium size, the 50s. We just think this is a good all-around size for us. Again, in a simple backyard setting, you don't need anything much more than a 50 cell tray, and you may not even have to buy many cell trays for a backyard garden anyway. And one of the reasons I like to have my compost wet, as you can see, the wind strip trays do have an opening. They have a little bit of a lip right here, and you can see that lip does a great job of holding that compost in place. But the reason I like this so much, and the reason I need to keep that compost wet, when it comes time to take these seedlings out and transplant them and plant them, I can just slip my finger in the bottom, push that seedling out and plant. So let's show you how quick and easy these are to load. All I do is just set it down in here. I come in, drop that compost in, simple, easy process. Just make sure it's good and covered. After we do that, I don't want to push and compact these in. That's just going to waste compost and it's not needed. I take and tap it down 2 or 3 times so it settles down into the bottom of that tray, and then come back and refill, which is really a simple process to do. And now we're ready to go in and make a dibble in each one of these, and we'll show you how to do that next, and then we'll start planting our Okay, let's show you exactly how we come in and dibble and get our seeds ready. Dibble, just putting a little indentation where we can set the seed in. Here in our wind strip trays, all I'm going to do is take my little finger and just come in about the size that I would have for radishes. And as you learn this over time, you'll start to practice and get better at it. And you could just make that little indentation. Now the rule of thumb for the depth of seeds is twice the depth of the width of the seed. So you want to plant it 2 times deeper than the width of the seed. That's a rule of thumb, but let me tell you my thinking over the years is I don't want to ever plant something. I'd rather plant it a little too shallow than a little too deep. And I will tell you, with these radishes, I've had times when some of the seeds have just hit the surface of this compost and still germinated. And some seeds are that way, but they do need to be covered. So I'll come in with this 50 cell tray. This just takes me a couple of minutes to go in and dibble. They do make a plastic dibbler that's made for this size tray. A lot of different companies make them. You just set it down and press, and you've got it all done at once. They're kind of pricey, but in a backyard garden setting, you don't really need to have that expense because you're not going to be planting that many seed trays during the year. So I come in, sometimes I'll take 2 fingers, literally go across. So that's how we dibble these. Now let's go ahead and plant our seeds. Okay, let's start our seeding. We're going to start off with our rover radishes. As you can see here, these are from Johnny's. I poured out about 30 or 40 in my hand. And what I like to do with my radishes is I put 3 per cell. And that's just kind of a multi-sown, putting 3 in there. That way if 1 or 2 fail, you at least have 1. Typically, I will get a really good germination rate with my radishes. So as you can see, I'll take 3, and you'll get good at this with time. I'll just go in and drop in 3. And again, in a backyard garden, this doesn't take a lot of time, and you're not going to be doing this like I do in a commercial setting where this has to be done a lot. They also do have devices out there where you can load it and drop them in. We don't use that. We just, for us, this is simple and easy to do. Again, you can see I'm putting 3 seeds at a time in each of these cells. And we're going to come back and cover them up, and I'll show you how we do that. Let's get a few more seeds in there, and let's come back and cover these. Now that we've got our radish seeds in there, we've got 3 per cell tray. We've got it down just the depth where they can be covered by the compost. So I'm going to show you a little bit of a time-saving and a compost-saving method. A lot of people will go in, and there's nothing wrong with this. They'll take either vermiculite, which is they'll spread that across the top of their seeds, or they'll take compost, a certain amount of compost, and drop it across the top of the seeds. That's all well and good. Let me show you a time-saving method that works just fine for us. Out here with our radishes, they germinate beautifully. I just go in and pinch each cell tray. I come in and cover up those seeds just like that, where they're completely covered. Don't have to be real meticulous about it. Just make sure that they're not seeing the sun. And as I've said, I've actually seen radish seed actually germinate sitting on top of the compost. So we'll go through all 50 of these cells, just literally pinch it shut. They're done, literally can be done in 3 or 4 minutes, and then it's completely done. And then we'll show you our absolute final step. Okay, we've got all of our radishes covered now. Just come in and pinched. They're ready to go. They just need to be 2 things. If you have multiple different types of radishes, and if you have multiple different seed trays going, you want to make sure you know. I have gotten things confused before. It's easy to do. Sometimes in the early stages, these plants will look very similar. So just for our own sake, I like to put the date because that gives us a good idea when these need to be planted. So we know about 2 weeks from now, these get the right size. We know when we plant them. So I get a popsicle stick, put the name of the plant. If it is a different variety of radish, I'll make sure and show that as well, because I could have 2 different species. Put the date and just simply slip it there in the back, and now we know. The last thing that we need to do is make sure that these have been watered in. So I just take it's a shower setting on this particular water nozzle. I come in very gently, make sure they're getting good and soaked. Let that soak in. Come back, and then we'll wet it again. Again, we don't want to do this. We don't want to disturb those seeds. We just want to do it gently. And I'll come in a couple of times a day to make sure that these are covered, make sure they've got plenty of water so they don't dry out. You don't want these cells to dry out. You don't want to flood them, over flood them, but you don't want them to dry out during the germination period. So that's how we get them started and get them ready to go here at Whirlwind Family Farm. So blessings over you, your family, your garden, your seed trays. Here in 2025, we know you're going to do great. Talk to you soon.